Welcome to MacGyver's Workshop, where you never know what we're going to be working on next. If you're not too careful, you just might learn something.
Well, hi there, and welcome to MacGyver's Workshop, where you never know what we're going to be working on next, and if you're not too careful, you just might learn something. So, in this series of videos, we are going to be overhauling a automatic transmission. In particular, this one's kind of old school. This is a Turbo350C out of a 1982 Chevrolet pickup truck. You know, this is it's basically a Turbo350, but it's a little bit different in that it has a lockup torque converter. Now this one, this truck here, once you see it, you'll recognize it. It's the one that I initially did the Rochester Quadrajet 4-barrel rebuild on. And I noticed that the transmission was feeling a little weak, and I warned the kid about it. And sure enough, it's back for the transmission to be rebuilt. Now, the kid has high hopes for the truck, and he's wanting to do a lot of stuff to it. And I believe he's got the gumption to make it happen. He's done a lot of wonderful improvements on it as it is. And so what we're going to do is we're going to overhaul this transmission, make it rock solid, reliable, and we're also going to zoot it up a little bit. We'll put a shift kit in it. I'm not going to promise it's going to bark second, but you know, it's got such a tall gear, and the motor, you know, there's just not a lot of motor in there. Regardless, it's going to feel good. You know, it's going to feel real good to drive. It's not going to feel like a mushy slush-o-matic, and you know, the shifts are going to be nice and taut, and it's going to be good. But we're going to go through it, and we're going to go through it right. Okay, and what I mean by that is, you know, you just don't, you know, a lot of folks, you know, they'll just go get a seal kit and reseal it, and then maybe put the new clutches in there. You know, I'm kind of a one and done kind of philosophy, and you know, you have to ask yourself, well, you know, did the transmission wear out, or did it fail for a reason? And more often than not, they didn't wear out, they failed for a reason. And now that reason may be because, you know, a particular component wore, which made this one clutch, you know, leak fluid and not hold as tight as it should, and then it burned up. Okay, but that's still a failure for a reason. So what we're going to do, and a lot of folks don't do this, you know, when they do a garage rebuild, but we're going to replace all the case bushings. That's what makes everything, you know, help seal nice and tight, keeps everything aligned, keep all your clearances right. We've got, of course, we have our, you know, seal and gasket kit. We got some good Raybestos clutches. We're also going to put the steels in it, and of course I talked about the bushings. Of course, filter. Got a new, you know, remanufactured lockup torque converter, and also, okay, this is a luteum Pu36 space modulator. No, I'm just kidding. You know I'm old, right? I'll start quoting old Warner Brothers cartoons. No, this is a red stripe vacuum modulator, and this is the go-to one that you want to use. All the good rebuilders use them, and it's adjustable, so it gives you a little, you know, a little extra tool there to just kind of tweak and dial in the transmission to get it just right, and that's what we're going to use. Of course, plenty of fluid, plenty of degreaser and carbon choke cleaner and brake cleaner and all that good stuff, and you know, cleaned my bench off and oiled it down real good. We don't want any dust or metal filings or anything to get in our transmission. So let's get started. So now, before we get started, it's a good idea to go ahead and lay out your mise en place, if you will, when you're cooking. Mechanicing's not that much different. I like to set out an assortment of tools that I know I'm going to need, and you're never going to have them all, so that's fine. But if you have the majority of what you need, then it's good. You're not running around hunting tools. So let's go over to the other camera here and have a look-see at just some of the stuff that I laid out here. So, got my pry bar, always going to need one of those, and standard 3/8 ratchet, and I got this little stubby one that's got a flex head on it, and it's real handy. I just always been real fond of it, and it has 1/4 inch on one side and 3/8 on the other, and it's just great to keep, and I've had that thing for years and love it. And an assortment of 1/4 inch drive sockets, 3/8 drive, deep and shallow, and then some 1/2 inch drive swivel sockets. And you'll be using these with the impact for like getting the cross member out and the bell housing bolts loose, and possibly the torque converter. And then assortment of extensions, and got some channel lock pliers, some needle nose pliers, vice grips, metric adjustable, sometimes referred to as a crescent wrench or just adjustable wrench, and then a few regular hand wrenches. This transmission is going to be kind of a hybrid in that it has both metric and standard fasteners in it. So I've got a 11 millimeter wrench, 9/16, 5/8, 11/16. On I should say the vehicle has both metric and standard fasteners in it. So, and of course, impact and all that's still put up. I haven't drug it out yet, but impact and air tools is always very nice to have when doing a job like this. And then, of course, obviously, we're going to need a transmission jack. Y'all have probably seen me use mine in previous videos, but I've got the the hydraulic one that extends up, and it's a real nice one. I've been real happy with it. So, all right, let's get set up underneath the truck and see what we're going to be up against, shall we? So effectively, what we've got here is a problem, and this may be the cause of this transmission's failure, because it appears that the drive shaft is too long, because even with the axle hanging all the way down, it's pushed hard up into the back of the transmission here. So this is what they call a slip yoke, and this can slide in and out of the back of the transmission here, as the suspension goes up and down. And when I went to pop the U-joints out of the back there, usually this yoke will slide forward enough to allow that U-joint to come out of the back yoke there. And I mean, this thing is slam up tight against it, and that's with the axle hanging all the way down. So it can only be worse when the truck's sitting on the ground and the axles are up. We might find some pretty significant damage in there. We'll see. But now I got to work on getting this drive shaft out of here, and the only way I can figure to do that is take this rear transmission mount and jack the transmission up to, in effect, make the length work out. So let's see what we can do here. I told you it was going to be messy. Oh, Lord have mercy. And there's enough grease and spooge all over the underside of this truck. It's seen some miles, there's no doubt about it. All right, well, first thing I'm going to do is get this old converter out of here. All right. Ooh, it's heavy. She's a heavy one. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I'm excited to find out what kind of carnage we got going on in here. So without any further ado, let's just get to it. My little catch pan over a bucket here. And that way I can squeegee off any tranny fluid that we spill here and just squeegee it out into here. I guess for starters, we'll go ahead and get our modulator out of there. And this actually has a red stripe modulator in it, so they don't come factory with those, so wouldn't be beyond reason that that this tranny's been into before. Guess we'll get our governor out of there first. That's gonna have to come out of there. This is what I call my baby ball peen. I love this thing. It's like it's just right. Always just the right size for everything. She was popped in there good, wasn't she? All right. Her governor gear actually looks to be in pretty good shape. Usually they get kind of concave there, and we want to make sure, of course, that our governor valve in there is working. But let's flip her over here. Alrighty. Oh yeah, there we go. There comes the fluid. Ooh, and does it stink? Lord have mercy. That's terrible. Actually, that one, that mount off the bottom there. Other two pan bolts here. Ew, nasty. It's so nasty. All right. Let's slide this thing over here and squeegee some of this out of here. I don't do a majority of transmission work, so otherwise I would have a trough to catch all this fluid. But this works. Now, as I had mentioned, this particular transmission, this is a Turbo350C, meaning it has a lock-up torque converter. You can always tell because the end of the shaft here is nice and shiny, and it has an O-ring on it. And when the converter locks up, this little solenoid, which is an extra bit, pumps fluid through the center of this shaft and engages another clutch that's built into the torque converter. And that essentially locks the torque converter together, so it's no longer a torque converter, and you have a solid direct drive all the way through. So it's pretty spiffy. You know, back in the day, you know, they were trying to figure out how to, you know, how they were going to meet the corporate average fuel economy and the emissions and all that. Now look at all the trash on that filter right there that got picked up. That's all clutch material and such like that. So now let's take and roll her over on her back, and we'll take the valve body off. Now this has a good bit of electrics in it that your regular Turbo350 won't have, and it has a pressure switch. I'm guessing this is for third gear, maybe. I'm not sure, because there's also a pressure switch over here on the side of the transmission as well. We want to be really careful with the plastic connectors and everything in here, because over time they'd gotten extremely brittle, and we want to take extra care in how we handle them, because we don't want to break any of this plastic stuff in here. So get these wires out of here, and then we'll be very gentle getting that plastic insert out of there. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this. This is a torque converter clutch solenoid, and all it is just a electromagnet that you know, pulls in a plunger. And I'm sure that screen is got some schmutz on it. We'll definitely have to work with that. Clean all that out real good and make sure it's nice and sanitary before we go back in with it. And now it's okay to use a power tool, I guess, to take this thing apart, but you don't want to go back together with any power tools on this. You know, this is aluminum, very soft, and you know, you always want to tighten your valve bodies down by hand, because if you don't, then, you know, if you strip one of these, then you'll have, you know, cross flow between passages and stuff like that, and the transmission will do all kind of strange stuff, and, you know, you swear that you think it's become self-aware or something. Actually kind of refreshing. You know, it's been a while since I built one of these. It's kind of a blast from the past, if you will. I used to love building these things. I could, you know, this is the 350 and the 400s are, you know, you don't really need to buy a shift kit for them. They already oil themselves well, so you don't need any improvements there. The way that it's designed, it's very easy, you know, to make them shift firmer and quicker. It's not all about shifting harder. You know, you want the shift to happen quicker. there's a difference, believe it or not. I've seen dozens of times where the guys just block the accumulators up and jack the line pressure way up. You know, the thing just bangs so hard into gear that it knocks your back teeth out, and all you do is break parts when you do that. There's a one-way clutch inside here that in first gear it freewheels, and then when the transmission goes into second gear, it locks. You know, if you bang it into gear too hard, you just blow that sprag clutch apart, and that's never good. So let's get our valve body off of here. Oh yeah. Whew, you can smell that burnt fluid. God almighty, that's nasty. I don't know if this is the factory. This thing maybe never nobody ever went into it. That's possible, huh? Let's get this out here. It's a testament to its design. If it, you know, it's gone since 1982 and just now burn up. So unfortunately, the battery died in my other little camera, and it's on its second life anyway because the plug for the power adapter doesn't work anymore. This is the extra bit, the extra little valve body that's on the 350C. That's for the torque converter clutch. And then this is your band apply here. Oh yeah, lots of schmutz in here. I will be putting all new seals and all on all this. And you know, we want to check the bores that these things ride in, make sure they're okay. Doesn't look to be too bad. As I expected to see a lot worse. Get our separator plate off of here. I really wish this would stick to the metal plate and not stick to the transmission, but oh well. I hate cleaning valve body gaskets off of a case. Always a royal pain. You can tell too if somebody's been in it before and they didn't pay attention to the torque specs, and they just tighten the dog crap out of these things, the bolts, and you can tell because then they, you know, the gasket will stick to the case, and you have to go through and try and get it loose. And you got a bunch of check balls in here, and really the only one that needs to be left in there is this one, which is for the torque converter clutch, and this one back here. And we'll take the other ones out because they're the ones that force the fluid through an orifice to soften the shift up. By taking those check balls out, the fluid flow is not restricted, so the shift happens much quicker. And again, as I was saying, that's different than just jacking the line pressure up and making it shift harder. You also got a little governor screen here. Protects your governor, catches any particulate matter. All right, now let's see some carnage, shall we? Get our second gear accumulator out of here. Let's see if somebody tried to shift kit this transmission before. If there's no spring in there, that'll make it shift a lot harder. Ah, yeah, that's the other bit. You could have a broken spring as well, which is what this one has. Not uncommon to see the accumulator spring break on these. And see, the problem is that if it gets bound up in there and causes that piston to get cocked in there sideways, and then it has a cross leak. Then you have a slip-in second gear. And this is the second gear accumulator piston. And it's got a lot of schmutz on there. And you always especially want to make sure you tighten these by hand when you go back together with it, because you got a lot of fluid pressure coming out of that pump. And when the transmission shifts into second gear, the second gear clutch is right behind that pump. So it's always trying to push the pump out every time it shifts into second gear. So you want to make sure everything's copacetic here with these pump bolts. And you go in, you torque them by hand. There we go. Righty. Now, this is your second gear, or what they refer to as the intermediate clutch. And this piston right here will come out and applies the second gear clutches, and at the same time though it's trying to push the pump back that way. So that's why I say it's always important to make sure we take care to properly torque that pump down and not damage any of the threads. Let's see what these intermediate clutches look like. And you got a wavy spring. Never take that out. I know some guys, will take that out of there. Say, oh, it makes it shift harder. Well, yeah, it does, but that makes it way too hard on that intermediate sprag. I am seeing some, some heat in here. I fully expected to see this clutch completely burn up. Actually, not bad. Not bad at all there. There we go. All right. Now I think here is where we're going to find, destruction. Yeah, that clutch is fried. This is our smoking gun right here. Phew, Lord. Ooh, the stink is strong in this one. Ooh-wee. All right, you ready for this? Look at all that, how discolored they are from burning. You see that? That clutch disc is totally done. So is that one. Yeah. That clutch has been slipping for quite a while. Whew, Lord. That's why the truck wouldn't move. Oh. All right, let's see what we got here. Yep, and these guys are about done too. Yeah. There's a major cookage going on here. And see, these are those discs that have the little, like the little hash marks on them. So you can kind of see, there, and you know they have the little striations on there, and it's all worn down. So yeah. Whew. Yeah. Now we want to go further down into the transmission here and just make sure we don't have any broken hard parts in here. Now we're going to check our planetaries and see what they look like. What we got going on here? Unfortunately, if you recall when I was talking about how earlier I was having a hard time getting the drive shaft to come out, and that it appeared that the drive shaft was too long. Well, I'm fixing to show you what that does when you hit a bump and that drive shaft yoke bottoms out and rams the contents of the transmission forward. And so this is your input shaft, and if you look here, I don't know if we can get if you can see that very well or not, but right there is really badly damaged, and that's from the drive shaft yoke bottoming out on the output shaft and pushing everything forward. And that's why I was having trouble trying to get this planetary out of here, and I couldn't find the end of the ring, to the snap ring, to undo it. And that's because the end of the shaft here is is mashed and spread out, and was covering the ring to where I couldn't hardly get the ring out. And I finally got it out, but unfortunately we got some we've got some bad hard parts. We're gonna have to get a new input shaft and a new output shaft. So then we go back together with it. We'll have to reset our end play, and then he's going to have to get that drive shaft shortened, or find the correct drive shaft. I can't tell for certain if he did say that the person he bought the truck from put another motor in it. Now, if they put another transmission in it, then that could explain it. If they put a different length tail shaft transmission in there, it's all kind of hard to tell really at this point. But for now, I'm gonna have to work on getting that planetary gear set out of there, because like I said, the end of that shaft is boogered up, and I'll take some pictures so you can see it better. I'm gonna have to play hell getting that out of there, before I can get on down further into the transmission to where we get to the low reverse clutch and all that sort of thing. So I'll be back in a few here when I can get that out of there. Well, we knew we were going to see carnage. Unfortunately, the planetaries, aside from getting stuck on the end of that shaft, they don't suffer as much damage. And now we can get our swing gear shell and all that good stuff out of there. And this will be where your kind of like a center support and a sprag in there. And all right, so we got our anti-clunk spring in there still. That's good. Let's see what kind of damage we've done to the case here. Okay, yeah, that's not too bad. I've seen some pretty bad ones, but this one's not bad. This one's not that bad in there. Yeah, we'll take our sprag apart and have a look at it and make sure that it's good and healthy. I want to get this clutch pack out of here, and then we'll take all our stuff off the back. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that clutch is done too. Whew. Lord have mercy. That's nice. That explains why his speedometer wasn't working. Alright. That's probably because all this got all shoved up in there when that yoke slid up on here. I have to work that off of there. This is like a kind of like a yoke seal. Helps cut down on leaks out of the tail shaft seal. You always want to be really, really careful with these speedometer drive gears. Frankly, I'm surprised it's not broken already, but I always want to be super, super careful with these. Yeah, all kind of shit falling out of there, ain't it? Yeah. And there we go. And we didn't hurt our speedometer drive gear. So, yep, we're going to be into a output shaft, input shaft, and I'm guessing the low reverse clutch is probably okay. Obviously we're going to reseal it and all that, but that's it for the carnage anyway. So get my get that clutch out of there. I'm gonna have to get my tool to get that out. So I'll be right back.